Hi, this is Arnav from the Tarsim, and today I want to briefly discuss how including rich media in your chatbot conversations can make them feel a lot more human and as a result increase the completion rates that you see. And to begin with, I want to briefly discuss what rich media actually means because a lot of you might not be familiar with the term. The way we define rich media at DARS is basically any form of content that isn't text that you include in your chatbot conversation. So think along the lines of images, GIFs, videos. We even consider emojis to be rich media at DARS because they aren't strictly speaking text. And the reason it's important to include these sorts of content in your chatbot conversations is actually twofold. The first one is something that I indicated a little bit earlier at the beginning of this video, and it's that it makes your chatbot conversations feel a lot more human. A key reason for why chatbots are more effective at lead generation than regular forms is because they transform an impersonal one-way interaction where the prospect is filling out the entire form all on their own into a two-way interaction where they feel like there's someone on the other end taking out the time to talk with them. Um, Now, key to giving prospects the perception that they're in a real two-way interaction is to transfer over aspects of human chat behavior into your chatbot. And rich media is a great way of doing this because when we speak to our friends and family over chat, we use rich media in those conversations. We add emojis into our text messages. We forward images to each other. My friends send me a lot of memes. We send each other videos. And transferring over that bit of human behavior into your chatbot conversations can make your chatbot feel a lot more human as well. And the second reason, which is extremely related to the first one that I just discussed, is that rich media is a lot more expressive than regular plain text. If you think about the reasons you use emojis and GIFs and images in your chat conversations when you're speaking to your friends and family, it's probably because in a lot of cases that rich media is a lot more expressive than just a plain text response. So, for example, if you scroll down into the written version of this guide, we have an example where a user sends, where one person in a chat conversation sends a joke, and the person on the other end has two ways they can respond to that joke. They can either say haha, so that's a plain text response, or they can respond with a GIF. And for me personally, I find the GIF to be a lot more expressive in that context. With the plain text response, it can be interpreted in a lot of ways. It can be a sarcastic haha, it can be indifference, or it could be a genuine indication that the person found the joke funny. With the GIF, there's a lot less ambiguity in that response. It's very clear that the person who sent the GIF found the joke funny. And adding that expressiveness into your chatbot conversations makes the entire experience feel a lot more engaging, and it adds to the snappiness of that two-way interaction that's giving you that higher conversion rate than the form. Now, that being said, all of these benefits considered, there is such a thing as too much rich media in your chat conversations. So you need to be careful about where you use this context and where you use this content, and you need to be careful about not using too much of it. So at TARS, we usually adopt three rules for where we use rich media. One is we always try to include a little bit of rich media in the first gambit of our conversations, especially if it's in the context of a conversational landing page. So in our welcome messages, we always try to include the logo of the company. And the reason we do that is because it adds a little bit of branding to the page in a way that no plain text can compete with. So adding a logo in your page offers a little bit of brand continuity if you are running ads. If you're a bigger company, for example, if you're running TV ads, having a logo over here is a great way for people to see the continuity between your TV ads to your ad and feel a coherent brand experience. And similarly, if you are a smaller company and you're running retargeting campaigns, having the logo in this first message is a visual cue that people can identify and remember in the future when they see your display ads or your social media ads out in the wild. The second context in which we use rich media in our conversations is when people hit a milestone in the lead generation flow. So I scrolled down in this exact same conversation, and right at the end, once they've completed the lead generation process, we've sent them this GIF from the office. Now, this GIF is a lot more engaging of a way to say that you've completed the lead generation process. And it just adds a light touch to an otherwise serious lead generation experience, which is always a nice way to improve the user experience, and it adds a little bit of delight to the whole experience that people are actually going to remember you for, and that helps you sell to them better because you will stand out from your competitors who have more impersonal ways of expressing the same feeling, especially if they're using a lead capture form. And the third context in which we use rich media is wherever we feel it's appropriate. Um, Now that might seem like an extremely broad rule to have, but it's sort of this common thread that's been running through a lot of these best practices videos that we've been making. Um, so basically, what we're trying to say is you use rich media every single day in your conversations with your family and friends. So you know what contexts it feels appropriate to use that sort of content. So apply that same thinking to your chatbot conversations. Think about where you would send an emoji, where you would send a GIF if you were in the chatbot's position, and then add a GIF or add an emoji in those contexts. Usually, unless you are particularly bad at talking to people over chat or you're an alien, you'll do a pretty good job of adding rich media over there. So using those three rules is a pretty good bet for us. In terms of where we can incorporate rich media into our conversations. But there are a couple of other considerations that you need to make. First of all, think about where you're getting the rich media from. You probably already have a good sense of what the good sources are for images, GIFs, videos. Think along the lines of Jiffy, YouTube, anywhere else that you get images from that you share in your regular conversations. Those are good bets for using rich media in your chatbot conversations as well. We use a lot of GIFs in our chatbot conversations. The GIF that I showed you over here, we got it from Jiffy. So I highly recommend using those sources as well. And really quick, before I end this video, think about load times, especially when you are using GIFs and images. If the file size is too large, it's going to take a long time for that image to load on the screen. And it's going to completely defeat the purpose of using rich media in your conversations. Because, for example, over here, if we used an extremely high res version of this logo that took a couple of seconds to load, the prospect will have already read the messages and hit the CTA on the page. They would have hit the button that says get a quote, and they would have started with the lead generation experience before the logo loaded up, which would completely defeat the purpose of including the logo because the prospect isn't seeing it altogether. And in fact, I'd go a step further and say that it actually diminishes the user experience because people don't like waiting for things. They don't like load screens. They don't like it when their videos buffer. So really pay attention to how large the file size is, because if it is too big and it does take time to load, then you're undercutting the value of using rich media in your chatbot conversations. And with that, I think I've covered everything that we consider when we're including rich media in our chatbot conversations. If you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out to us on Intercom. We have an intercom widget in the bottom right of our builder. So if you sign in, open up one of your chatbots, and you have a conversation while you're making it, or you have a doubt while you're making it, feel free to start a conversation with one of our customer service reps. They'll be more than happy to walk you through that doubt and offer you some tips on how you can improve the conversion rate of your chatbot. That's it for today. Thank you guys for watching.